Hogstye.
Hey everybody, and boy oh boy has this been a busy week in Washington football team name to be announced, but currently the Redskins nation. It's probably been the busiest week of news since we started this podcast 5 years ago. We have news about the name change. We have a bombshell story that the Post dropped. We have players or employees being fired. Players accusing former employees of doing things. We have guys getting hurt. And we have new people coming in. It's a lot of stuff to get through. We're going to kind of have to take this, I think, big story to least big story this week, guys. But first, let me say welcome, Steve, Robert, Jamal. Welcome to the show. How are you guys doing? Non-Redskins related question. Hope it's okay. I know, Rob, you said you've had a long day yesterday.
Rob been going through it.
Yeah, Rob went through it. I thought I had a bad day because I had to drive 500 miles. Rob had some serious stuff go on with his new job that he's working. So, you know.
I'm fine down here in Texas. Yeah. It's I think this is probably the worst week of news for the Redskins in Dan Snyder's history as an owner.
And that's saying something.
It really is. It's saying a lot.
Yeah.
I'm doing good myself. I think the only things that I'm dealing with over here is trying to figure out a decent day to give Dakota a bath. I haven't done it personally. I've taken her to a salon or whatever the grooming thing, but it's 90 degrees outside every day. I don't think it's worth it. I need to find a morning where it's like 60 so I can just do it.
I don't know, man. It sounds pretty bougie, taking a dog to a bather or a groomer.
Well, see, here's the thing. You know when I got her. Then on top of that, like the first time I tried, it was a mistake. Like I tried to put her in the bathtub, she kept jumping out. She didn't there's no closed door. I can't keep her in there, so she's gonna keep jumping out after I put her in the thing.
Okay.
So I was like, I need to just go ahead and get her a bath some type of way. So I'm gonna take her to the grooming thing first. But that's what I'm dealing with over here.
Can't you just take her out back and get like a spray hose thing?
Exactly. That's literally what I'm doing now. That's my next step because I got 2 leashes now, so I can tie her to like a gate outside and keep her pinned down with my foot. And so she don't run over.
You about to have Peter all over your ass.
Yeah, exactly right.
That's why we're not recording it.
We're not recording it. It's about
no, we're not recording what I'm talking about. She'll be fine. She'll be all right.
Okay. And Rob, I know you had a crazy day yesterday. I don't know if you want to get into much of that on the show. But why don't we kind of jump in? I want to go to you first with all the stories. What's your first reaction to just the week that the Redskins have had?
Oh well, when I saw the first story of the women accusing, I didn't realize that I didn't have a popular take on the situation, and I'm probably in the minority on this whole story because as these statements and all this stuff happens with Washington, I look around the league and at guys that I've played, like guys that are former teammates of mine, and teams that I have in-depth knowledge about because of those guys, because they've moved on to other teams. I don't want to say this happens all around the league as far as like abuse or taking advantage of women at all. But I will say that it is a very loose culture from a standpoint of women in the front office seeking players seeking women, like coaches, players' wives. It's a very loose situation when it comes to that. That's pretty much was my take on the big story. This that was just posted or whatever. So I shared that a little bit. But I just want to know more facts because I do know for a fact that that while I was there and playing, there was a pretty prominent player who was messing around with somebody in the front office, and she sought him out.
Right. Well, so
she literally like went out of her way to get at him, knowing he was married and that he was a player, and.
But what you're talking about is consensual there.
That's consensual.
Yeah,
and that's what I'm saying.
The big story, I think, there's a huge difference between someone having an affair and sexual harassment, which is, and somebody asked me, well, what kind of sexual harassment? I said, just get the whole page of what right? Sexual harassment consists of and circle the whole page. The Redskins covered everything.
Right. Who asked what kind of sexual harassment?
That's just somebody online asked me, like, what kind of harassment are they being accused of?
Well, I can say this. I mean, for the NFL team that I represented, I was not there every day, and I was only outside counsel, but I never saw any sort of sexual harassment whatsoever, in the building. I don't know what the players and coaches and front office staff are doing in terms of, behind closed doors and consensual relationships and whatnot. But what I did not see was a culture of, coaches and front office people, pinching secretaries and making lewd comments. I never saw any of that. But again, I was just outside counsel, but I did spend a significant amount of time in their facility and didn't see any of that. So I think there's a big difference between players having affairs or anybody having an affair, which is a voluntary consensual relationship, and having senior officers of a business organization preying on young secretaries and, admin staff and, whoever else they are. It's probably a crime. Mm-hmm. It's definitely against any sort of business code of ethics. It's sexual harassment. The team is lucky they haven't been sued. They probably will be sued at some point with all this.
I mean, so let's go through some of the bullet points of the story. And Steve, I want you to actually talk to one of the first big things that they mentioned in the Post article, and that is that it's apparently standard policy for the Redskins to have all their employees sign an NDA right away. Now, I don't know what's in this NDA, if it's boilerplate or if there's unique stuff written into this. If someone's accusing you of sexual harassment and you have an NDA, can they sue at that point? Or
well, I mean, it depends. Number one, it's very common to have people sign NDAs.
Sure.
I've written them, I've reviewed them. It's a lot of companies have NDAs, especially companies that are in the public eye, and they basically say, if you quit or you're fired, you can't talk. Right. That's the bottom line. And for a team like the Redskins, I can easily see it being broad enough to cover almost everything.
But and if you're talking about
this is a condition of working here.
Mm-hmm. But we are talking about criminal activity almost.
I understand that, but I mean, it's probably very, very broad. And I said it's criminal activity because you could probably dream up a crime, but nobody has accused anybody of a crime. Let's make that very clear.
Sure.
Yeah,
I mean, a contractual non-disclosure agreement is not going to prevent anybody from talking to the police, or testifying in court. Mm-hmm. No NDA is going to eliminate that. But what it will do is, short of that, you can't talk about what happened in the building, and that's just the price you pay for working in an organization that is public. So it's very, very common. I think the Redskins did not show good judgment in not releasing them from their NDAs.
Sure.
Look, the story's out there. You might as well let them talk and get it all out. That would have been, from a pub PR perspective, I think it makes them look worse by not releasing.
They also, obviously it makes, from a PR perspective, it's not a good look, but those people, from what I've read, that have been accused of such have been terminated. And I do think Dan's statement about it was a little weak.
Yeah,
it was very weak actually. But when you compare it to somebody like Mark Cuban's statement of when it was happening with the Dallas Mavericks it was going on.
Yeah,
but it was very weak and broad in general. But I think Ron Rivera's statement kicked it up. You know what I mean? Like it kicked it up. A lot of people didn't like Ron Rivera's statement, but I think he addressed it very well.
Sure. I mean,
the best he could in the situation that he was in. because he just got here. I just got here 3 days ago. What do you expect me to do? So I mean, he did the best he could. But yeah, Dan's is a little. He has a track record of doing the wrong things in the public light in terms of speaking for his team and speaking up for himself, and he does things the wrong way way too many times. And truth be told, like if we were going to go to like the macro level thing, or when it comes to Dan, he's well, obviously we'll get into many other sub subjects of this, but he's failed one too many times with this whole running the organization thing. And when he had an opportunity once more, when we're talking about the statement here, when he had an opportunity once more to speak to the public, he just hid behind words. And truth be told, he didn't even put any quotes in there.
I mean,
it was a team statement.
I don't mind. I don't think Dan should have come out and done a press conference. I wouldn't have let him.
Yeah, not immediately. I'm sorry. I should have added that. Not immediately. I'm not. Yeah, I shouldn't have said that.
Look, what Dan should have said is something like, in a statement put out that says, clearly the Washington Redskins have been at fault in this. It's my fault. I'm the leader. The buck stops with me. I let an inappropriate culture of sexual harassment pervade this organization. It's my fault. And from here on out, we're going to fix it, and we're going to make it right with these women. And I apologize from Dan Snyder to these 15 women and whoever else it is. My sincere apologies, and we're going to get it right from here going forward. And he didn't say that. It just was a mealy mouth. It was very poorly written. I thought they absolutely did the wrong thing.
I mean, we have 15 women who worked for the organization. We got at least 2 reporters who came out saying...
It's the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot
it's
more
going to be the tip of the iceberg. I'm sure, and I'm not going to ask you to obviously name names, Rob. I'm sure you saw stuff when you were there. I'm sure every player has seen stuff. I'm sure there's dozens of other things that have happened.
That's what I really want to know.
This has been a toxic culture for 20 years.
I know, when I was there, I personally know of 2 reporters who were sleeping with players, and they were around all the time.
Right.
Like, I personally know of 2.
But again, you're talking consensual, too.
But there's a difference,
it was consensual. It was consensual.
Yeah, but that's still a difference, though. It's still an inappropriate relationship when you're talking about, they work together.
Ethical things.
I mean, Rob, did you see, inappropriate comments and, women being harassed and things like that in the building?
Honestly, I didn't see women being harassed in the building. The comments thing, I guess... It's a difficult situation just from a comment standpoint, because I don't know what offends somebody else, you know what I mean? But I think sexual harassment comments are
they're usually pretty
self-explanatory.
Yeah.
Like you know what's too far and what's not.
We have a text in there where a guy's like, "Hey, your boobs look great today." I
never witnessed any of that. Yeah. But I have seen female reporters come in the locker room after the game and just stare at a guy while he's getting dressed. I've I've seen him stare back. So it's just like, I don't know. Everything I I saw was consensual. But I just want people to know that there is some kind of different layer that the public doesn't see, where 2 consenting adults really do like just have like this sneaky type underlying relationship type of situation.
Yeah.
So not every woman that's worked there, I'm not saying every woman that's worked there has done that, but it does exist.
And I think if we're talking about that aspect, I think one of the things that is significant in that moment is more so when people disregard, I guess, like when people disregard like the bigger or the more moral / ethical business aspects of doing your job. I guess that's one thing that we don't pay attention to. I guess that's one thing that you can take out of that. Be sometimes on both sides, like when people point to how people get their information. I'm just talking about in a general aspect. When people point to how people get their information, a lot of people think that this person works hard. And sometimes people take shortcuts in life. And I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying that's what I'm saying. Like, this is the part where people don't understand. Like, you make your steps taking shortcuts, and then sometimes it's not good for the players as well, because like, you're not focused strictly on your job. Like, people are doing things that's not necessarily always the right way to do things. And that's a moral standpoint. And sometimes it just points to people don't care. Like, they're going to do whatever it is they're going to do. But it also points to the fact that, I mean, if you're trying to run a straight and narrow path as a person who runs a business, or in this aspect, it would have been Bruce Allen, I guess, because he's the day-to-day guy. If you're running a person who wants a straight and narrow type deal, you failed at that because it was going right under your nose, and like, sometimes you allow things to happen. Sometimes these leaks that comes out for the team. I'm not trying to say like this is always the case, but when leaks come out from the team, and you're not understanding where the leaks are coming from,
it's pillow talk most of the time.
Yeah.
And you're not going to know, and that's your fault.
You know, first of all, I think the Redskins are not nearly the only organization that this goes on. Okay, don't be naive. The NFL is a very macho, male-centric organization. This has happened other places. No, I didn't see it in the other team I represented, but I don't doubt that they're not nearly the only team. Okay, but the owner needs to set a culture where this is not acceptable. Okay, right. You're not going to stop a reporter sleeping from a player or whatever. I mean, and as long as it's consensual, that's going to happen. But what you can stop is things like senior team officials making snide comments, texting some women about their breasts, continuing to to touch them, to talk about their appearance, all of that. None of that is appropriate. Right. And it's the owner's fault. Okay. Dan Snyder did this. Dan Snyder allowed this. I don't care if he wasn't there every day. The owner I dealt with was never there in the building. Okay. But he needs to set a tone and a culture from the top that this will not go on. We are going to be professional here. That didn't happen. And then Bruce Allen obviously didn't help. Vinny Serrato was a moron. Dan has consistently surrounded himself with bad people. Okay. Dan is not a good leader. And you can get away with story. Yeah, Dan is not a good leader, okay? He's not a good leader, not a good manager. You can get away with that if you have somebody who's good working for you. Dan is consistently, with the exception of Joe Gibbs, picked the wrong people. So you have a bad leader surrounded by bad people. No wonder bad things happen.
Well, to that point, it's not just he picks bad people. It's the way he treats the people he even does pick. The one thing in that story that... And some people think this is no big deal, but that he was talking to one of his executives, one of his high-up executives, and
Gershman is the one.
Gershman, yes, thank you. Yeah. And telling him to do cartwheels because he's a male cheerleader. And
can I be honest with you? I'm gonna be honest with you. I laughed when I saw it. I did laugh. I'm just being honest with you. Like, I'm not laughing at him. It's just like, I'm not laughing at the guy. I'm laughing at the fact that what made you think that was okay to say? Because I mean, personally, it's just a humor side, but it's also not like, you don't say that to somebody who's obviously doing some work for you and think that you have the ability to say it because you have some sort of power over him.
Well, yeah, number one, Dan Snyder's 5'6" non-athlete, and you're going to make fun of somebody who can do a cartwheel.
I think you might be generous with 5'6" too.
Yeah, or whatever. I mean, but point is, that's just the guy being a complete jerk.
Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about. When you establish a culture like that, when the leader is going to be completely abusive, no wonder bad things happen.
Well,
so here's the thing.
There's a guy leading our country doing the same shit, and everybody loves him. So here we go.
Yeah.
So here's one of the things that I remember, Steve, when I had mentioned that the auditing thing on Twitter. I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago, and you were telling me why an auditing firm wouldn't necessarily work in this. All right, so I had obviously read the statement wrong about the NFL, but my question came from this standpoint. Well, it was literally what we were just talking about. My question came from this standpoint. Why, over the course of X amount of years, when you know there's been some type of reports, like there's been some type of things that's been internally reported, and there's been some things going on. Why has there not been an audit initiated? And that's why I was trying to get at more so like an internal thing. Why have they not conducted something to get some professional, non-biased help to figure out what exactly is going on within this organization that causes things to go on the way they are? And that's where I was trying to understand. But obviously, I was just connecting two different instances. They were just wrong. But that's where I was trying to get at. Why have they not done that over this amount of time? Because you could have easily understood where your policies were failing and where you needed to improve upon. And this could have helped. This could have helped Dan out a long time ago. But obviously, that's one of the reasons why they're lacking. Within the organization.
Well, number one, the answer is because he didn't care. That's why Dan didn't care. Period.
That's very
now, what Jamal was talking about is Jamal and I had a Twitter interaction where Jamal was questioning why did they. And again, you explained that you misunderstood the NFL's post, but the question was why they hire this law firm versus like an accounting firm to do an audit, okay? And what I was trying to explain sort of to the public is understand this. This is what I want people to understand. This is not – Dan Snyder hired an attorney, Wilkinson. I don't know her at all, don't know anything about her, to do essentially an investigation of the team. Now, understand, this is not an independent investigation. This is not an outside audit. This is an attorney who represents the team. This report, whatever it is she does, is covered by attorney-client privilege. It doesn't have to be released to anybody except Dan Snyder, and it is not an independent investigation. He doesn't have to tell anybody about it. He doesn't have to do anything with it. So a true independent investigation would be somebody or something, some company hired by the NFL to come in and investigate the team. That is not what's happening here. And so I don't agree with the NFL just letting the Redskins do whatever they want and just take Dan Snyder's lawyer's word for it. Because her intent, her ultimate purpose is to protect the team,
right?
And to protect Dan Snyder, not to, unleash all the warts or whatever.
So I do want to be clear though that what I'm saying, there's performance audits that are done as well. Because I don't want to make it, because we know that there's financial, like when people think of audits, it's financial as well, but there's also performance audits, and that was my mindset.
I know what you were talking about.
Okay. Yeah, that's all. I didn't want to make it seem like I was an idiot.
No. I really responded to you to make the public understand that this is not an independent investigation in any way, shape, or form. This is Dan Snyder's lawyer.
It's a CYA move, is what it is.
Reporting to Dan Snyder. It is designed to protect and insulate Dan Snyder. That is the point.
Yeah.
And the only thing I've ever agreed with Mike Florio on is this point. Mike Florio brought this up on Pro Football Talk, and we all know how I feel about him. But Florio had the same point, and he's right. I can't believe that the NFL thinks this is acceptable.
So what are, we know obviously what's going on with the lawyer now, and her group of people. So, but what are the next steps for the Redskins?
Well, let's talk about what
are we looking for?
Let's talk about what they did do before this story dropped, and obviously they knew it was coming. So they fired Alex Santos, who's been with the team, I think, 10 years, and Richard Mann, who's been there about that same amount of time. And so, these are two guys who were both accused in the story. Mann, I think, was accused of some really kind of crude behavior. Santos accused of just, going out there as, let's say, soliciting women to maybe sleep with him or having a relationship with him, and just inappropriately. I don't know how, criminal it might be or whatever.
Well, the criminal part of it is if you pinch someone who doesn't want to be pinched, which was Santos, and that's what Rhiannon and Walker alleged, that is criminal battery.
Right. Okay.
Which is probably a misdemeanor, and you could argue there's probably, I don't know Virginia law, but there's probably some sexual related component that would kind of kick it up a notch.
And he apparently admitted to it at some point and apologized to her, like they'd had to do her company's lawyers when she was with the Athletic and the Redskins lawyers, and they came to some kind of, you apologize for this, and she was okay with it at that point. But
well, no. Let's get this right. She reported the conduct to the Athletic.
Right.
And the Athletic contacted the Redskins. The Redskins claimed they disciplined Santos, but never told anybody what they did.
What happened?
She never accepted it. It's just she just dealt with it because.
So.
Because I read in her article in the Athletic that he did come to her and apologize. Yeah.
Yeah, but we don't know I don't think she acknowledged the timeline with that part.
Okay.
She did say so. I might be wrong. I'm just saying I don't remember a timeline, but I do want to say it was as recent as like this year, like that he was trying to apologize.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if that was the case, if my memory serves me right, that kind of shows that he kind of knew what was coming around the corner too. Like he just wanted to save himself.
So we know those two guys are gone. They let Larry Michael retire, which is frankly too good for Larry Michael, even if he hadn't done anything, in my opinion.
You have a weird hatred of Larry Michael.
Me and every Redskins fan other than you.
I don't care about Larry Michael one way or the other.
Yeah, I don't really.
Yeah, I don't care.
You know, do you care, Rob? What'd you say? You do or don't care?
No, not really. I got a good relationship. I had a good relationship with Larry Michael. I don't really care.
It goes back to how Frank Herzog was fired. A lot of Redskins fans hate him because they feel like he helped get rid of Frank Herzog.
And by a lot, I think it's only Alex.
No, it's not just me.
But, so Larry. Point is, they let Larry Michael retire.
Yeah.
Which is doing him a solid. Instead of just firing him.
Apparently accused several times in this whole thing.
What he was accused of was not sexual harassment. It was making crude and inappropriate comments to people. He needed to go. What can you say? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess then the question becomes who replaces him.
Well, yeah, that's a whole nother topic. Yeah. And our buddy Rick Snyder put out a list of a bunch of names.
That was a really good poll.
Yeah, he put out a poll which got a lot of responses. Chick was, I think, the winner. Is that right? Or maybe it was Buck Hance.
No, it was Buck Hance won. Okay.
Because his was Chick, Hernandez, Buck Hance, Grant Paulson, and it was Scott, right?
Kevin Sheehan.
Oh, no, Kevin Sheehan. Right. Not
what
Scott.
Do y'all think? What would been your vote, y'all's votes for that?
I would go Chick, man. I love Chick.
I think I chose. I think I was torn between Grant and somebody else. I can't remember because they were all good choices.
Grant
so I was stuck between
Grant
two.
Paulson.
Grant Paulson.
What?
Hey.
Well, what's your vote, Rob?
Look, I know Rob's reaction because there was plenty of people who had the same reaction on.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who don't like Grant and man.
Yeah, and I understand that because I don't really respect him either. But that's why I was like, we're talking about the play-by-play thing. I'm like, all right, well, that ain't got nothing to do. Like, what my dislike for him. Really, I'm not listening to the thing anyway. He does good play-by-play. I heard him on the Arena Football League when he was doing play-by-play for them. So I was like, well, he wasn't that bad. He's pretty good.
Yeah. Grant, he did it for the Valor for 3 years. And
I can disassociate myself between my dislike for him and actually him doing a job. So that's why I was like, all right, he's not that bad.
Well, so yeah, he did that, and then he also did the XFL. He did some pregame stuff for them, I think, not play-by-play. But so he's done that. He's got some experience there. But Rob, what do you think? I mean, you've known a lot of these guys on a personal level. I don't know if you knew Buck Hance. Was Buck Hance ever really a Redskins guy though? He always did. No. Yeah, he's a basketball guy, right?
Yeah.
So
he's with us.
Yeah.
I would actually prefer somebody from outside of the organization.
Someone who hasn't been covering them. Okay.
Yeah. I would actually.
I agree. I think Buck Hance is the best to do it. I'll put it that way.
Buck Hance is
I just was concerned about crossover or transfer, whatever it is.
Yeah, Buck Hance is a great play-by-play guy. I mean, he was iconic for the Wizards in the way that Frank was for the Redskins for 20-something years, because Buck Hance did the Wizards for a long time. And so, I could see that.
I found Rick's poll finally, and so Buck Hance won 32%. Chick Hernandez was second, 26%, and then Paulson and Sheehan were actually tied at 21%. That was the result.
So
of
pretty
Rick's
even.
Poll. Yeah, I mean, of that four, I would have voted for Chick Hernandez. I kind of agree with Rob a little bit, though. Number one, well, first of all, I don't really care that much I don't really care who the voice of the Redskins is. It doesn't make a big difference to me either way, But if I have to vote, I think probably a fresh start, given all the problems this team has had. Just get somebody totally new would be better.
So somebody told me, and it made sense. Like that's literally what I thought. I thought it was just play by play. That's all I thought. Mm-hmm. But I guess it goes into the bigger picture because Larry, if you think about it, Larry did so many different things throughout the week as well. And that's the other aspect behind.
He was a team, but he was a senior vice president of the organization.
He was partly managing the website. He was doing all the TV stuff,
and that's where I was thinking about too. So with that being said, too, I actually kind of changed my tone on Grant Paulson, but you also kind of need somebody young as well.
Well,
and who can grow into this thing. Unless you just want a stopgap, which would probably be Buckhantz, but he'll have a lot of responsibility.
My thing with and I actually like Grant just because when it comes to
we have him on the show, or was that Danny Rury?
No, we had Danny on the show. Okay. I tried to get Grant on the show once, and I kind of dropped the ball on it. It wasn't on him, but Grant. The one issue with him, I don't see him really being savvy when it comes to that other stuff outside of doing the radio. Like, I don't see him as a great TV personality or a great...
I do not either.
Yeah.
The truth of the matter is...
I got to change my tone.
The truth of the matter is, this entire organization needs to be burned to the ground. Figuratively.
Yeah, I mean...
They need to fire everybody and start over again if it's up to...
Something I wrote was similar to that, yeah.
Forget the fact that there's rampant sexual harassment going on. The organization has failed in everything it's ever done for 20 years, with the exception of a couple years here and there. They need to start over. You need to find an Amy Trask-like person, and Amy would never take it. I went back and forth with her once about this, and she would never do it. But point is, have an outside person to come in who is a team who has never been associated with the team, who's a legitimate, valid team president, and let him or her rebuild it from the ground up. That's the only way.
Well,
all the rest of the stuff is just noise.
I mean, I agree. I actually kind of put out there that I think if, regardless of what this lawyer says, if I were in Dan Snyder's shoes, I would be going to every senior and mid-level executive who's been with the team for more than like 3 or 4 years.
Get out.
And, yep, you're going. Sorry, Doug Williams, you're a legend. I mean, you couldn't have not known shit was going on.
Hey, Rob, what about Doug Williams?
Rob's shaking his head.
Yeah, well, you can't get rid of Doug,
man. Tell us about your Doug, from an insider's perspective.
Well, was Doug wasn't there when you were there, was
he? No, Doug was not there, but I have met him on many occasions.
Sure.
And Doug is really, like, down to earth, tell you like it is. Like, you never have to wonder what he's thinking or what he thinks of you. He tells you exactly how it is. He tells you, like, I mean, he's just a real person. More than anything, I think he represents something for this franchise. One, when you think of Doug Williams, you think winner.
Sure.
Like you think of a Redskin legend.
I mean, they're about to make a movie about him. That's not even on our list of like crazy things that happened this week. That got announced.
Say it again. They about to make a movie about him?
Yeah, someone's making a bio movie about Doug Williams' life.
Yeah, you can't get rid of him.
Well, okay, Doug can stay. Fine, let Doug stay. But point is, the team needs a completely and totally clean house. They can't let. I feel bad for Ron Rivera because the man came in here to be a coach and sort of run football ops, and instead, he's the primary team spokesman. He seems to be running the business operations to some extent or another. I mean, I don't know if he really bargained for all of what he's getting.
Yeah, but you can't really feel bad for him because Ron has the opportunity to be a legend around here.
Yeah.
I mean, the
if
guy
he gets it right
into Washington and cleaned it out and gave us a winning product, and he's yet to do that. He's yet to win. But if he can just win, or if he can bring some playoff victories, maybe a Lombardi Trophy, then he's really cemented his legacy as a Washington Redskin.
Shoot, I'd settle for an NFC Conference Championship at this point.
Right. Something. But he has the opportunity to go down as a legend. So, yeah, he got his work cut out for him, but I don't feel bad for him.
It's a tall
because he knows what's
mountain.
at stake.
It's a tall mountain he's got to climb there. But I mean, it is very hard to look at how bad this has gotten over this last week with what we found out, and not just think, all right, we've got to do a full reset. It's crazy.
By the way, let's also say this, that I don't know what you guys' opinion are, but my opinion is this is not enough to make Dan Snyder leave.
No,
okay?
I don't think so.
I
Unless
don't
more
think
comes
so.
out that he knew something.
Yeah, he wasn't directly accused of misconduct. He has plausible deniability. It looks like the NFL has sort of accepted that. The rumors we're hearing is that the NFL is going to fine the team, which is nothing, So it does not look like we're going to get our wish and have Dan Snyder leave.
No, I think unless more comes out, that's not happening.
Yeah. Right.
I don't know that I really. I know I'm in the majority here, and I know my Redskin fan card may be pulled, or my Washington fan card may be pulled, but I don't really know that I really want him to leave. Like, sometimes you have to go through things in order to become, a refined version of yourself, a better version of yourself. And so far, I've seen him take those steps. I mean, it took him a long time to get rid of Bruce. He did it. And ever since then, those steps have been he's gradually been doing the right things, hiring the right people, getting rid of the right people. But again, I don't have 20 years of him like most fans. So
that's the thing, Rob. Yeah. I mean, look, how old is he? What, 50, mid-50s?
55, 56.
Okay. Yeah. He's not going to change. You don't change when you're 55. I just think he's just not a leader. It's as simple as that, and he just needs somebody to come in and take charge of the organization. Ron Rivera clearly is a leader, but I kind of want him just focus on football. I don't mind him running everything that has to do with if everything has to do with football, but I think they need a team president who could come in and deal with all the business stuff, deal with all this name change stuff, hire the right people. The sexual harassment stuff, we do not need Ron Rivera having to deal with that.
Yeah.
I want him focusing on football. I don't mind him running all things football.
It's clear that they're going to need to make some serious changes to the front office. I mean, part of that story that they revealed was the Redskins didn't even have a real HR department. It was one person's part-time job, which I know companies with 20 people where an HR person is a full-time gig. There's no way you're running a successful HR department like that for 200-plus people, and I don't even think that includes the employees. So that needs to happen.
That's not nearly enough.
Yeah, you need a team president. I mean, now I've always heard too, part of the issue with why this stuff happens so much, and Rob, maybe you know about this, and after this I know we got to change topics. I've always heard that the way Redskins Park is just laid out, it's very kind of close quarters, and that's why you have so much interaction between coaches and front office, and that some places that's not the case. In some places it's almost like two different buildings.
In some cases it's two different buildings, but I would say for the most part the layout shouldn't influence those type of things that happen. We can't blame the building for sexual harassment.
Well, maybe for the clear glass stairs that people were looking up for upskirt shots. We can blame the building for that.
It's just not a realistic.
Yeah,
thing. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean the facility I was in, the business side was on one side, and then the weight room and the locker room, everything were in another area. There weren't any glass stairs or anything to stare up women's skirts. But I don't think the layout excuses anything.
No, I'm not saying it as an excuse, but just as far as, it's just a closed quarters and very cramped compared to some places is what I've heard. And people think that's why you get so much rumor and hearsay, and because there's no dividing space between people.
Maybe.
Everyone's just piled on top of each other. All right, well, so I'm trying to make sure I think we covered everything in the story. We got some other stuff to get to here.
I got one comment that you don't have to comment on if you don't want to.
Right.
I was just extremely frustrated throughout the week, dealing with social media, and they're drummed up out of nowhere accusations and rumors of what's going to be in the report. And I pointed out on Friday just how much that was part of the social media that I actually hate, because people live to to bring attention to some people live to bring attention to themselves, and they'll do whatever they can to bring that out, and it's very annoying. And that goes to the reporters who were saying that they knew something and they wanted people to know that they knew something, and that goes to the people who were quote unquote leaking things that they knew about the story, and when the story came out, there was absolutely no mention of that information in there. So like, you're exposing yourself, but you're also exposing the bad side of social media, because people take some of this stuff seriously, and it's their fault for believing it, but it's also like, stop, like the misinformation thing. It becomes so dangerous. So that's just one point.
We live in a world now, and I tweeted this the other day indirectly, but this is what I was talking about, where rumors and stuff are reacted to before facts are.
Yeah.
And like, you have to issue an apology about rumors before facts even come out. And you have to address rumors before facts even come out. I want to see the facts. That's all I ask. I just want to see the facts on all this. I want an investigation done, and I want to see the report.
I think we all agree there. It like, some of those rumors, aside from like, the worst of them are just horrific. What people are accusing Dan Snyder of, other people who were not even involved in this. You know, there were some horrible rumors out there that went out there, and like, you can't go down that road. I know it's fun at some weird perverse level for people, but you gotta stop it.
Yeah.
If there really is a hell, Satan is down there running Twitter. Okay, it's just awful. It really is. It's just terrible, and it's very discouraging to see all those rumors Jamal's talking about, totally without basis, totally without any facts or evidence whatsoever. People are literally just people who are taking random Facebook posts, passing them around on Twitter, claiming the facts.
This is going to be an article.
It's ridiculous, and like I said, it's Satan is running Twitter.
The dumbest one, though, had to have been that Dan Snyder was paying refs to cheat.
Yeah, right.
He's not paying him nearly enough.
Lost 100 games under Bruce Allen. What is he really paying him?
I'm down to talk about something.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Let's move on to. I guess we should move on to the Kelvin Harman story. I keep on wanting to say Kevin because my dad's name's Kevin. But so Kelvin Harman. We found out early this week that, unfortunately, he probably won't be playing this year. He has torn his ACL while practicing on his own or working out on his own. Apparently, this happened a while ago, and they kept it under wraps. From what I saw, is that it's been a few weeks since this happened. First, it's a shame because I think we all probably agree he had some real upside that we saw towards the end of last season. Was looking like a good possession receiver for us, a guy who could help move the chains, be on the other side from Scary Terry. So, first I want to get your guys' thoughts on that. Rob, I feel like we always have an injury and we have to go to you somehow. But this kind of derails this young kid's season, hopefully just this season. But then we also have our Twitter poll we'll get to, which is about the wide receiving core now. So let's talk about Harmon, and then we'll go from there.
Well, you never want to see anybody get hurt. As a former player, I wish those guys nothing but, great health.
Sure.
But unfortunately, these things do happen. One thing I can say about a knee injury is that there is some kind of mental roadblock after you rehab and you feel like maybe I can get back out there. There's a mental, like that knee is going to be in the back of his mind every time the ball is thrown his way, every cut he makes. That's what I'm more concerned with him about. It's not the athletic ability. It's not his catch radius or how many catch. Like that thing, that's really in the back of your mind every time you make a cut after you rehab, or every time you think you're ready to take on a lot. So I wish him the best on the mental recovery, because the physical side is going to be a cinch for him. It's going to be easy.
It's interesting you mentioned that, because when I think about his game, his strength really is his ability to kind of cut to get open. He's not a speed guy. He's a make a move and, the corner goes one way, he goes the other. Or he's a go over the middle guy. And, I mean, Rob, I assume he's not a huge receiver. If a linebacker like you saw a 6 foot, 200-pound guy coming over the middle, you're planning on hitting him pretty hard.
Oh, yeah, of course. Of course. Legally nowadays.
Yes, legally.
Yeah.
Yes. Not going for
Kelvin
the knee,
Harman,
but
6'2", 220. I mean, he's
he?
not
I thought
a small guy.
he was
Yes,
small.
he's a bigger guy.
I thought he was much
I understand
smaller.
what Rob is saying. Obviously, I'm not a professional athlete, but I've had tons of knee problems over the years, including when I was younger and, more athletic than I am now. And it's like a worm in the back of your head.
Mm-hmm.
When you get out there for the first time and you're thinking about your knee, what's going to happen, how's it going to feel, and I can imagine an elite athlete at that level is probably magnified from a mental standpoint. So I feel for him for sure.
Yeah, I've had a knee problem too, where I have this weird trick knee thing, and if it goes bad, I barely can stand on it for about a month. It's awful when you have knee problems.
So, the bigger question, Kelvin Harmon's gone for the year. He's not, odds are. So the bigger question is, what does the team do?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, and that was the subject of the poll. We'll get to the poll. I mean, what do the Redskins do? Do they just stick with the in-house options? Do they bring somebody in? My thought on it, generally speaking, is that the team, given where they are in their development cycle, stick with somebody in-house. You don't need to pay a lot of money for some vet. Let's let some of these young kids develop. That would be my sort of general feelings on it.
Well, yeah, so why don't you read the poll, since it quite literally is just to do with this, and we can go through that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the poll was, the Redskins recently lost Kelvin Harman for the year due to an ACL tear. What should the team do to replace him? The four options were sign Antonio Brown, sign Josh Gordon, AGG, meaning Antonio Gandy Golden, or some other in-house option, or other, meaning some other free agent. So those were the options. Alex, let's start with you. I feel like I never start with Alex.
That's fine.
So Alex, let's start with you. What do you think, and what do you think the fans think?
I'm gonna say that, and I have no idea what the fans are really thinking. There's that contingent of NFL fans that really seem to still want to see Brown on this team, despite the fact that I think he's, probably insane at this point, and I don't want anything to do with him. But I'm going to say they might have gone with Gordon. I think those are two talented receivers, if you don't worry about their off-the-field stuff, and he's probably the lower risk off the field, is Josh Gordon versus Antonio Brown. So that'd be my guess. I would bring somebody in. I don't think it'd be them. I would probably go for someone like Demaryius Thomas, who's still out there. I know he's old, but I think he's got enough where he could fill in for a year. That's kind of what I'm hoping.
Okay, Rob, let's go to you next. What do you think, and what do you think the fans think?
Personally, I think I would bring in Josh Gordon and Antonio Brown. I don't care what the fans think or what people think of their character. Like, if they do something, then they're low risk, high reward. I mean, I can get rid of them. I don't owe them any guaranteed money. You do something stupid, this is most likely their last chance to impress and be, remembered as good receivers, as good players. So I bring them both in and just open competition. But I will say, I think the fans probably went with somebody in-house. I know there are rabid fans who pick one guy who's like a long shot and then make him like the fan favorite. So I'm personally a fan of Emmanuel Hall. I think he's going to shock a lot of people. People are going to be shocked with the type of production and the type of player that he is.
That's interesting.
I think that's where the fans go.
Okay. Jamal, what do you think?
I think it's kind of crazy, because I was actually, my thoughts kind of was similar to Henson, in the fact that I was actually torn between fans actually thinking that they felt their receiving core was underrated and we don't need to go outside of the people that we have, and then also some people are like, man, that boy AB sitting out there, we gotta go after him, like we need him now. Kelvin Harman's gone, we gotta go get AB. But I think that the fans did choose, they voted for the outside, going for a free agent, or somebody that's not on the team to help fill this void. And Personally, I think that they should do that as well. I'm actually a fan of, in this regard, I'm actually a fan of Josh Gordon. And I think that is the case specifically because when you look at the character concerns that Ron Rivera talks about, he wants people with high character and things like that. Josh Gordon doesn't fit in the criteria of a person who has bad character. Like, he's a person struggling with something internally that has nothing to do with character. Like, that's something that I think that can be a bypass for Ron and shouldn't be an issue on the team. Like, you just have to go into the situation knowing that he can't be deemed as reliable. So that's just one aspect of it. But at the same time, you can take him in because he's not going to cause any drama that's going to like bring negative attention to the team. It's going to be something towards himself. Like it's on him to stay clean. And we don't know him, but at the same time, like that's nothing. That's a terrible character.
Clean. He don't have to stay clean.
That's true. The new rules, like, are much looser, right? I mean,
wait, well, hold up now.
Okay.
We know that he acknowledged that he did more than just marijuana. That's where I was getting at.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was doing cocaine on game days. Like he had something going out. I gotta find it. It was like whenever his first like public acknowledgement of his drug issues. That's where he was talking about, like he was getting high in so many different type of ways.
Yeah. Okay. Number one, Josh Gordon won the poll. We got this is a pretty popular poll, by the way, by our poll standards. So thanks for everybody who voted. But Josh Gordon won by a vote of 36%. AGG or other in-house option was next with 30%. The San Antonio Brown crowd came in at 29%, and only 6%. Which I would assume is primarily Demaryius Thomas. Only 6% was other. If I had voted,
there's 2 or 3 other names like that. Guys in their 30s who maybe could get a year.
Well, there's a list of people they could have brought in. But if I had voted, I probably would have voted for AGG or other in-house option. In terms of Josh Gordon, well, first of all, I think Antonio Brown belongs in an insane asylum, not on a football field. I wouldn't want him anywhere near. And Rob has a point. You don't give him guaranteed money. The first time he opens his mouth, you just cut him. I just wouldn't want to deal with him at all. That's be my vote. But in terms of Josh Gordon, I mean, Josh, number one, I'm not 100% sure he's not still due some league discipline if he is reinstated. Number one, I don't know if he is reinstated, and if he is, can he play immediately? Not sure. But yeah, I mean, Jamal is right in saying Josh is not an attitude problem. Josh Gordon's a drug addict. Okay, he's a drug addict. Let's just say it for what it is. The article you're talking about, Jamal, he admitted all kinds of crazy things. I don't remember the coke on game day specifically, but he admitted to alcohol abuse, a bunch of other drugs going all the way back to his childhood. It's a really, really sad story. I personally root for Josh Gordon. I really hope he gets his life together and gets it back. I wouldn't mind giving him a shot. I'm just not 100% sure the team can even give him a shot. But I would bring him in, if the team thinks he's off of drugs and he's got his stuff together, yeah, I'd give him a shot. But to me, it's a young team. Let's just let the young guys play. That's my view of it. In terms of comments, I'll read a couple here. We got a few comments if I just closed it. Here we go. Okay, let's see. We'll start with K-Mo, who's at, I'm going to get this wrong, Tra Day 901, I guess. Sign both. 1 million guaranteed, 7 million incentives. They'll act right. So I guess he agrees with Rob. Let's see. This I'm gonna skip him. Dean Woods, another one. Signed both the big 1-year deals. The team options for a second year, low risk. Hail to the Redskins, who is at Gibbs 626. Says stay away from the top two, meaning stay away from Brown and Gordon both. Gabrielle Wood, who's coming off the top rope with some reality, says, why Josh Gordon? He's played 33 games in 5 years with limited production in them. He had one great year 7 years ago. Good point. Somebody likes Demaryius Thomas. The best comment of the day here, which I guess I just don't get it. You wrote in to say no comment. Thanks for your insightful input into the topic there.
That's useful.
Yeah. Yeah, so
I will say this too. Another option, and I think that it was on this poll, but another option that's a real possibility is just play through preseason, and just pick somebody off. Not everybody's gonna make everybody's team.
Sure.
So, maybe there will be more options once preseason is over, is basically what I'm trying
Watch
to
for
say.
cuts, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
I
It
mean,
would be a much safer thing if we knew Cody Latimer was going to actually be available to play.
right.
Yeah, but we don't know his status. I'm trying another method, folks, to get documents out of Douglas County, Colorado. They're going to make me pay $10, which I will pay reluctantly. But I think hopefully maybe by the next show, I might have some documents relating to his case. But aside from Cody, there's a bunch of young guys, and so I mean, who knows? I mean, Rob's vouching for Emmanuel Hall. I don't know a damn thing about him.
Well, his combination of height, size, speed, and athletic ability, his thing is he just hadn't been able to get it here. That's where he's messing up right now, and I really think this could be a last opportunity for him to get it right.
I mean,
Harmon's a 4.3, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
6'3", 4.3 speed, big wingspan.
There's so many guys like that throughout the history of the NFL, though. I mean, you look at another guy on this team, Cam Sims, who's got all the physical look of being a potential number one receiver. Like he's big body, he's got good hands, but he's just never gotten it all together.
How is Hall at the line of scrimmage? Like when it comes to press coverage, do you know, Rob?
Well, his footwork leaves a lot to be desired. I think you got Gandy Golden and all these guys working with Tanner. If he sought the right help, he could be better off the line just from a footwork perspective. But he's hard for a DB to handle. In college, he didn't have that problem because all he could do was just use his speed, fly by guys, 1-2 step. But in the league, you can't get away with that. So I think he does need some work with his foot.
And he had Drew Lock tossing him balls all the way down the field too, right?
Right.
Yeah. That's interesting.
You mentioned. Go ahead, Jamal.
No, I was just commenting. I said I want to take a look at him. I said I'll take a look. That's all.
Yeah. So, but Rob, you mentioned real quick that some of these guys are working with guys like Santana Moss. How often does that happen with other teams or in this league nowadays? I mean, it seems weird to me that guys like Santana still hang around the team and work out with some of the young players. And it's almost like a free second receivers coach. And
yeah.
I don't know if you had a guy like that.
Isn't that a good thing? I mean,
no, it's a good thing. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know if you had a guy like that when you were as a linebacker. The Redskins aren't exactly known for having a lot of great famous linebackers, so I don't know.
Yeah, well, to answer your question, it happens quite a bit.
It does.
Yeah, but I will say, as a young player, you have to seek out those older players and be willing to continually try to get them to commit to doing this. If they're still playing, it can be harder. But if they're retired like Santana is, then I think it opens it up. It's easier to do because those guys have more free time and don't have to really work on their game.
Well, and I realized Santana's also had that personality his whole life. Because I remember when he was playing here, he was always going back to the University of Miami, him and Portis, to kind of do the same thing down there.
Well, you always heard about in basketball. Kobe Bryant before he died was always working with people. Hakeem Olajuwon was always working with people.
MJ was always just yelling at people.
Right.
I mean, the other guy I'd point out that I've always liked out of this group is Darvin Kidsey. If they have to replace, Harmon, I think Kidsey has performed adequately well, at least on the rare opportunities he's had. So I think that's another one out of this group that has potential. I don't know. I don't think. I guess I'll say this. I don't think Ron Rivera has given us any sign that he's the type that was going to bring in some 32-year-old receiver. Be it Demaryius Thomas or Antonio Brown or whatever. I don't think Ron really strikes me like that too much. So I don't think that's going to happen. They may bring somebody in off the waiver wire or whatever in training camp for sure. They'll probably do that. But I don't think they're going to sign either Brown or Gordon.
Yeah, there's got to be someone's going to release a 28-year-old number 3 receiver at some point, and you can bring that guy in.
Right. Exactly.
I sure as hell hope they bring in Josh Gordon. I'll just put it that way. That's my guy.
Yeah.
You're going to make me look up and figure out if he's reinstated or not, aren't you?
We're not
Look,
making you do anything,
you,
Steve.
I would tell you, don't waste your time. Now, I will tell you that. You don't have to do it.
Okay, so here's the status. And this is just me Wikipedia, okay? So take this for what you will. But looks like he was suspended indefinitely on December 16th, 2019. This would have been his 5th suspension. So the idea that Josh Gordon is going to come in and be ready to play week 1 is zero.
Yeah. Oh, I don't think anyone think he'd be ready week 1.
I don't know. I mean, a lot of people want him.
Well,
I get it, but I don't think even if he's reinstated, it's not going to be in time for the first week of the season.
Sure. So we're almost out of time. One last topic, the big topic that really we thought would be probably the focus of this week on Monday, and that is that the Redskins put out a press release saying we are changing the name, we're going to retire the logo. More to come because they don't have the new name yet. It's tied up in legal. And Steve, I think early on, you, me, I think all of us probably agreed, just doing this in a press release kind of was a disservice. This is the kind of thing, you're talking about a team name you've had for 86 years. These don't get changed a lot. You know, in the NBA we saw, the Bobcats became the Hornets and the Hornets became the Pelicans a few years ago.
Yeah.
But that's the NBA. That's it, and
those teams don't have history either.
Right.
It's because
of relocation or expansion. Yeah. We've not seen anything like this in the history of pro sports that I can think of.
Not in decades, at least. No. Yeah, it's really sad. You know, my opinion on it hasn't changed. You know, I'm really sad to see Redskins go. We've already talked ad nauseum about what names we want and everything. And, you know, we've talked about
that's for
Mark McCauley and all of that stuff. So, you know, it's still just really sad to me to see it go. And I do think they're doing people like me, because I'm 10 years older than Alex,
right?
You know, who've lived with this for a really long time. And you know, I don't live in DC anymore. To me, it's about the Redskins. It's not about, you know, repping DC or anything like that. It's about the Redskins. And I would like to see one last go around for the year, but at this point, it doesn't look like it's going to happen.
Well, at this point, I'm not even sure we'll see a season at some point, some days.
Well, that's another topic, but I mean, I don't know.
I will say this. I just want to throw this in there. I was chatting with RG yesterday about their COVID protocols and just catching up. But it does sound like the season is going to start September 10th. Like, everybody's proceeding as planned. That's all I had on that. But so just from what I got from him, it does sound like.
Say RG is in Robert Griffin.
Yeah.
I didn't realize you knew. I didn't realize you knew him.
Yeah. It sounds like everything is going to be on plan.
Huh. Interesting. He's I feel like you know, Robert Griffin has had an interesting career resurgence, and I'm glad to see him hook on. I think he's a perfect backup to Lamar Jackson. Could you find a better backup than Robert Griffin?
Honestly, I feel like, just from what I know, he's been a great mentor to Lamar.
Huh. Well, he's never going to rebuild his credibility with the Twitter Illuminati on, you know, all that. But I wish him the best. I do, you know.
I think. I mean, I don't know about him being
Twitter
a backup.
I'm just sick and tired of Twitter, man. I have no idea.
My mentality is, if you got a guy who's athletic like that, like Griffin and Jackson, you need at least one guy who's going to kind of be more the statue in the pocket in case everybody gets hurt. You know, but that's just
they had that, but he cost a fortune. They had
that's
to let
true.
him go.
They did. Yes. Yeah. I don't blame them for that, but that's a whole different discussion.
Yeah, it's a whole different team.
Yeah, different team. But on the whole name thing, I think I was amazed that Dan Snyder didn't say something like in person. Come out, do a Zoom conference or whatever they're doing.
Should have said something.
Yeah, I'm about to say, because when it came out, he was in France anyway, so I guess he would have had to do Zoom.
Well,
you know what though? So at some point in time, leaders have to lead. You know, if your team is changing the 87-year-old name, maybe you ought to freaking be in Washington D.C. and stand up and be a man and say, look, you know, this is what we're doing, and honor. You know, give it a little bit of honor on its way out. You know,
I agree with that.
I'm going to get us in trouble.
Yeah, I don't think you're getting it.
I understand. I mean, and I don't disagree. You would hope, for something as big as this, because I didn't take into perspective, which is the case. I didn't take into perspective that, like, when you get these name changes and people having new teams and stuff like that, they're usually expansions or people with less of a historical track record, such as the Redskins. And like, I don't think he took into account when you already knew you were going to make the decision after your official first announcement, you already knew you was going to make the decision.
Right.
You should have just prepared a little bit better. And if you didn't want to take questions, if you didn't want to be on camera, then you just make a statement on camera.
Right.
Like, you just make that statement and you acknowledge X, Y, Z, and then keep it pushing. Like,
yeah, I mean,
Dan Snyder loves the name more than anybody. He's 10 years older than me. He's been living with this his whole life too. He loves the name. I just think it's doing it all a disservice.
And that's why I think the statement was so poorly done, is because he was upset when he wrote it, or when he was upset when they prepared it. I can't say he wrote it. He was upset when they prepared it, and you could tell in the statement that he really was fighting this, but at the same time,
like, man up,
he had to say something.
Man up.
So he's like, "Here, man, we're changing the name. I hope you guys are happy. I want the sponsors to keep funding us.
The man is a fan.
Yeah.
So all these fans out here, he's a true fan. All these fans out here who think they can run the team will probably run it into the ground too from fandom. Not just because he's the owner doesn't mean he has to be a great leader. There are plenty of owners around the league who are not great leaders, but they hire the right people. You got the right people in place, and hiring Ron was a step. I do agree with you guys. There does need to be a director of football operations with great characteristics and leadership abilities.
Mm-hmm.
So Dan could furthermore step away and not be as big of part of the process.
The
he's
issue there
stepped away with the hiring of Ron, but
yeah, the issue I think has always been that both Vinny and Bruce, who had that kind of job, they wanted to be not the front office guy. They wanted to be on the roster side of, more like a general manager.
How do you go 0 for 2?
Yeah, well, I think it's pretty.
I was going to say that too. After I said it, I was like, I guess it is pretty easy.
Right.
Well, it needs to be somebody that he's not familiar with, and that's the problem with the NFL, is that it's a good old boys league.
Right.
It's you so and so's nephew's brother. I worked with him in San Francisco for 20 years. He was great. Like, I'm gonna bring him back. Like, no. There needs to be some new, fresh. This is a new NFL.
Yeah.
And when you're holding on to 30-year-old dinosaurs, 30-year coaches who coach 30 years, then they're dinosaurs. And front office people who have been in the game for 30, 40 years, those are dinosaurs. Like, you need a fresh new take.
And I
almost think he needs to hire an executive headhunter search firm type thing to find the right person.
And he needs to find somebody who doesn't want to, pick the quarterback. He needs to find somebody who's my soul.
They care about the credit. They run it. They know that they're. I think the thing with Vinny and Bruce is that they wanted to be the man out front so bad. Like, I want so much shine. Like,
like I said, they want.
What's so funny?
They want to be the guy who finds the quarterback.
The man Bruce Allen did a press tour after the 2019 draft on ESPN, on NFL Network, on all radios. I don't know, like Sirius XM, all this stuff. After that, and it's crazy because he got fired like less than a year later.
Well, that's because he gets one hint of positive press and he wants to go claim it himself.
Exactly, and that's what we were pointing to, like the fact that you want to be out there so bad, and you felt like this was your opportunity to flaunt how good you did. Right. And look, you still got fired.
Well, he wanted.
Vinny was an incompetent nincompoop, and Bruce Allen was all about Bruce Allen, and neither one of them were right for the team. They all did immense damage to the franchise and the brand.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it sounds like Snyder wants friends in those positions more than anything. And realistically, we can become friends, but it doesn't have to be that. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to. So.
It's the Michael Scott thing. He wants a company that, from The Office, if you don't know what I mean. He wants everyone who works for him to be his friend first, not his employee. And
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, it's it is frustrating, and we had a guy in the building who probably would have done a great job in Brian LaFemina as just fixing the front office.
And then he lost a ridiculous power struggle with Bruce Allen.
Right, and he was gone.
Everybody lost a power struggle with Bruce Allen.
Yeah,
true.
Yeah,
true.
I mean, I don't want to put a person's name out there, but we have a friend of ours that knows people who know Bruce Allen, and he always used to get some great stories about him and pass them on.
You know, like there's this sense of bullshit entitlement that comes with Bruce's like demeanor, and it pisses me off from a standpoint of your dad did amazing things, and just
that's
off
a legend.
the strength
Yeah,
of that, you've made millions over your fucking career because your dad like did amazing things. You've done nothing. You ran 2 franchises into the fucking ground.
Right.
Don't get me started. All right.
Maybe 3.
I hate Bruce. I don't say that I hate people, but I really hate Bruce.
Okay.
You're not alone.
Yeah, I don't think you're alone on that. No. I think that should wrap up this show. We were going to talk about special teams. We're at 110, and Steve yelled at me because we went to 90 minutes last week.
Go out like that.
Well, we were going to talk about special teams as our position group. I think we'll just put that off till next week.
We can wait.
Or Jamal said, just say Tressway is amazing and move on.
I'm about to say, it's only going to take 2 minutes.
On the team.
This is the position group breakdown right now. Tressway is good. Dustin Hopkins is okay. You know, we're on the bigger and better things, fellas.
Right.
All right, guys.
Just one Hogstye announcement, not really announcement, but to end things here. Training camp. First of all, training camp. The rookies report on the 21st, which is the day you're listening to this, and then the veterans report on the 28th, I believe. In terms of press and whatnot, I don't think we're going to be able to go to training camp this year because there will be a very limited number of reporters that go. And normally by this time it's all arranged and nothing's done yet. So I'm working on the assumption that the Hogstye will have to sit this training camp out.
Yeah, I don't know, Rob, if you knew this, but we usually get backstage kind of training camp access, which I'm sure you've gotten in the past, but yeah, we're not this year. I think it's
probably not.
Yeah, they said it's limited to like 10 people at the NFL level. Yeah, so
gotta respect the situation.
Yeah, exactly. That should do it for this week. Tune in next week where hopefully nothing's burned down at Redskins Park.
Right.
It literally can't get worse.
Oh, never say that. Never say that. It can always get worse. All right, folks. You have a good weekend or good week.